me. I can't tell if the lighting is okay or not. Can't tell if it's too intense. Can't tell if it's too dark. I'm struggling. That might be too light. We'll just go with it. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be going over my 2023 Bookish predictions. I think it's really fun trying to figure out things that we think are going to happen within a year, specifically for me within the book community. Having been a part of it for 10 years now, I've seen a lot of things that I don't want to see. I've been through a lot, and I know entirely too much information. Some things that I probably won't talk about ever on this channel. I'm not trying to sound pretentious. I can't even say the word. I'm not even trying to sound pretentious in saying that. It's just facts. I am spitting facts. I've been here and I've seen things, that's a fact. To be honest, it can be kind of easy to predict the things that are going to happen within the book community because it's so repetitive. I wish I was joking. But joking, I am not. The same things happen every year. We are on a bookish merry-go-round, going round and round and round. I want to hear some of your predictions down below in the comments, so let me know your predictions for the book community in the year of 2023. But without further ado, let's get started. Number one, we will have the same discourse that we have every single year. Here's the deal. We have these same conversations. They're a mixture of conversations, debates, and Twitter yelling. Discourse that is consistently recycled. We see them pop up every year, if not all of them, one of them. At least one of them. And we're gonna see it again this year. I'm tired just thinking about it. And you know what frustrates me about this? What gets me kind of heated? That instead of just letting these horrible opinions just slide by, people bring attention to it, which is exactly what the person starting that conversation, that discourse wants. They're hungry for the engagement and y'all feed them. Y'all are getting played by the hungry hippos. They want that hit tweet and they know how to do it. Post something controversial, everybody quote tweets it, everybody replies with their own thoughts. They get dragged, but they're getting interactions. They want it, they got it. Anyway, you might be wondering, what are the topics? 1. Adults shouldn't be reading YA. If you're boring, just say that. Also, it says a lot more about you for judging people for what they read. The sass has clocked in today. I'm just getting started. Number 2. Audiobooks aren't reading. Hear me out. If you're gonna tweet that, I'm gonna ask you to just go ahead and not. Let's take a step off social media for a sec. All I'm asking for is a sec. I know you gotta get a high off the disaster that is social media, but just one sec. Get off and run to your nearest lake. Yes, on foot. Run. I don't care how far that lake is, but when you get there, I'm gonna need you to thrust your phone into the water along with your bad takes. Thank you so much. Number 3, the classics are the best and everything else is trash discourse. The last one that I can think of off the top of my head is the discourse surrounding how much people read within a year. This one pops up every year at the end of each year when people are sharing their reading wrap-ups. And I know that there is a lot of nuance surrounding this conversation and I don't want to distract from that, but people can and do in fact read 200 to 300 books within a year. It's possible. They're not just adding books to their Goodreads without reading them. It doesn't mean they're just speed reading books. And it also does not matter the format they're reading the book in. Sure, privilege definitely comes into play here, but it's always disheartening to see people discredit end of year book counts by being like, oh, they just read a bunch of audiobooks. Oh, they just read a bunch of mangas and graphic novels. And what of it? All that these people are doing is prioritizing reading. And all you're doing is wasting your time trying to come for them. Who's really winning here? I need to know. All of these conversations are exhausting and I feel like we've talked about them all at length. But unfortunately, they'll all come back around. They always do. They never die. Might I suggest taking my approach and just sitting on the sidelines with your popcorn and just watch how unhinged some people can get. So my prediction here is that one of these topics will come back around. I'm calling it. Next up, current genre trends will see a decline. I feel like dark academia is on its way out. I say that and I have a dark academia video coming out soon. I might be a little bit late to the trend. Please still watch the video. I'll love you forever and ever and ever. I think we're still gonna have a lot of dark academia books being dropped left and right, but methinks personally that it's a little late. Again, that's just my prediction, not fact, but I just have this feeling. I feel like Babel, even though that's a book that's more so like depicting academia and critiquing and deconstructing academia, I think Babel was probably one of the last big ones that we're gonna see. It feels like there might be some room for a few more popular ones, but I just think we've been oversaturated with them. We all know publishing sees a genre trend and just drowns us in it. They milk it until they can't no more. And even still, they're pushing out milk, hoping we'll drink it up. And so we're gonna start to see it dwindle. It's just like what happened with vampires and dystopian. And it's happening again, but I do think we're gonna have a resurgence at some point. Like, just because a genre is dying now, it doesn't mean it's never gonna come back around. Like, vampires is starting to kind of have its moment again a little bit, and I'm sure dystopian's gonna come back at some point. Dark academia might be dying out, but it'll come back, I'm sure of it. So if you're currently writing a dark academia book, don't let me discourage you. That's like my biggest fear, is that I discourage people from like writing a genre that they're currently currently writing in. Like, please keep writing that book. I know that romance is also having its moment right now, more so on online spaces. I feel like romance will always be popular though. It just has much more of an online presence than it did a while back. I think the genre will continue to thrive and grow because romance is more so like an umbrella term. You can do so much within that genre. You can bring in so many different elements and do so many different things. Whereas dark academia, I feel like, is very specific in terms of what fits within its walls. Just to give you a little contrast there. Number 3, we're gonna obviously have a genre that takes over that slot. So what do I think it's gonna be? I think it's all things cozy. We honestly saw books on the cozy spectrum of things start to gain popularity last year, both in mystery and the fantasy realm. Cozy mysteries has always been a community within itself. It just kind of has been bleeding more so into the online space, I feel like. And I saw that a lot more towards the end of 2022. I saw like book clubs reading cozy mysteries. I saw just a lot more creators kind of delving into that world. And I think we're just gonna see a bigger presence of stories like that moving into 2023. And cozy fantasies are for sure about to explode. I just feel it. I sense it. My reader senses are tingling. It's gonna happen. And I'm on board with it. Give it to us. Though a part of me does want it to be kind of like this underground genre so that publishers don't like come through and take advantage of it and just like milk it for all it's worth. Cause they'll do it. That's gonna happen. 100%. We're gonna be like oversaturated with cozy fantasies. Now I've still yet to kind of dive into the cozy fantasy world, but I genuinely think that it's something that my reading life has been missing. I love these like lower stake books and don't serve you with whiplash every chance they get. The sort of calmness to it is very appealing to me. I would say the book Legends and Lattes was like a big leading factor in this becoming a genre on people's radars. I know that there are other cozy fantasies out there, but I just feel like this book was the one that kind of like led people to the genre. Number 4, special edition books. I've been thinking about this quite a bit and I don't even know how to like fully put my thoughts into words. I'm gonna try my best here. And I'm probably not the one who should be speaking on this, knowing my book buying habits and knowing my wallet cries every time I see a beautiful book, but the bar just keeps getting raised higher and higher for special edition books. And I don't think that special edition books are on the way out, but I do think that the standard is so much higher than it used to be. And I feel like people are not willing to buy special editions just because they have like sprayed edges. Like that's what a special edition used to be. Like it would just be a book with sprayed edges and people would be like, oh, I need it. I gotta have it. Mine. Now the book has to have some kind of quality to it that like really enhances the book, the overall aesthetics of the book, whether that be a completely different cover, a patterned sprayed edge, gold or silver foiling on the actual book. Like the standard has just gotten so much higher. How do I say this? I feel like we're gonna see a lot of readers within the community start to care less about special editions just because they're not that special anymore. Like you can't just put sprayed edges on a book anymore. Like that does not make the book special. I can do that at home. We all can do that at home. It's not hard. There's gotta be all these other elements to make a book special, but I think also something else that's kind of driving me personally crazy is when there are like 12 editions for a book coming out. I'm gonna give an example, even though I don't really want to give an example, but V.E. Schwab, I collect her books. So of course I'm gonna want to collect every single edition of her book, but with every V.E. Schwab book comes like 24 editions of that book. That's like an over-exaggeration. There's probably like 6 or 7 editions, but that's still too much. That is taking advantage of readers, especially readers that collect your stuff. And that's when it feels like readers are being taken advantage of because these editions are not really that different. There's like one little thing that makes them different from each other. And it's like, what's the point? But of course I'm a collector, so of course I want every edition, and it's frustrating. I think we're still gonna have this where we're gonna get lots of different special editions for all these different books. But I think readers, like me personally, I know that I'm gonna pull back a little bit. I'm still gonna collect all of V.E. Schwab books, but I'm less inclined to like pick up other special editions unless I just like happen to come across them. I really hope any of that made sense. I feel like I was not very coherent with my thoughts, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Number 5 is Bookstagram Finstas. If you don't know what a Finsta is, it's an Instagram, typically private, where you just pop in, drop all your photos unedited, and then you pop out. This one is random and I don't even think there's a way to like track this kind of trend prediction, but I follow a lot of trend forecasters because I find their insight just so fascinating and I love hearing them talk about trends and what they foresee becoming a trend. And one that they've been talking about being on the rise is people sort of sharing their lives less or being more private about their lives, not having as much of an online footprint and kind of giving off this mysterious vibe. And I could see this leaking into the Bookstagram community a bit. People having private Bookstagrams where their photos are less curated and it's just them like sharing their thoughts on them more so for themselves and then just like dipping. And I feel like we've started to kind of see that uncurated vibe on social media as it is with things like photo dumps and people not really using photo editing apps anymore. Cannot relate. Like I am all about curation. I'm all about photo editing apps. To each their own. Whatever floats your boat floats it, you know? No judgment here. Even though there is an argument that the photo dumps are like very curated, but that's another conversation. But I feel like that photo dump trend was kind of like the start of a new post style and kind of living more of a mysterious life, because a lot of those photos like don't come with a caption. Like, they don't explain what's happening in the photo or where it was taken or any of that kind of stuff. Like, people just drop the photo and yeet on out of there. Again, I don't think there's a way to track this. I just think it's like a fun thing that I feel like people might be doing, but who knows? Number 6, we're going to be getting a reboot announcement. We have seen several books that have been adapted in the past get reboot announcements or have been rebooted. We had this with a series of unfortunate events. Lord of the Rings had a spin-off moment. We had Vampire Academy, The Golden Compass. Upcoming, we've got the Percy Jackson series, and we've got the Spiderwick Chronicles. And I just foresee another book that's been adapted in the past getting a second shot. I just think we're gonna see a book that's been adapted in the past get a second shot at an adaptation. I'd be okay with the Miss Peregrine's reboot. Like, give us a series, please. You did me dirty with the movie, even though I liked it leading up until the last 30 minutes. We don't talk about the last 30 minutes. In fact, trash it, erase it, pretend it's not there. Something that I don't want but I could see is like maybe a Divergent reboot. Instead of doing a film, they do a series starting from the beginning. And I could also see like The Fifth Wave or The Darkest Minds getting a reboot in series format. These are things that I don't necessarily want, but I feel like could eventually happen. I just think if these specific reboots do happen, they won't do very well. Unless they're marketed right. Not only marketed right, they have to be freaking good. Like, that's the thing. These adaptations have to be good in order for them to succeed, and typically they're just not that great. Or they're fine, and that just doesn't cut it. I think often these adaptations heavily rely on the readers showing up to watch the adaptations. And while that does happen, like, readers do show up and support, it's never enough to make them like super mega successful in the way that they want them to be. The marketing needs to go beyond the readers. Like, it's not on us to make it successful. And if you want us to make it successful, you have to make it just like the story itself. Readers will turn away just as fast as they turned up if we're disrespected. And the way to disrespect us is to not make the adaptation accurate to the book. Next, we're gonna see more self-published books get the traditional publishing treatment. This is something that we've seen a lot thanks to the power of TikTok. TikTok is a very powerful place, a very slay place, a very scary place. Olivia Blake is an author that comes to mind. The Atlas 6 was originally self-published, and then when TikTok got its hands on it, it got picked up by a traditional publisher. And then her book Alone with You in the Ether also was self-published and then quickly turned around and got the traditionally published treatment. Another book that comes to mind is Legends and Lattes. This was originally self-published and then it got picked up by a traditional publisher after TikTok went crazy over it. What a slay. That's the kind of slay any author wants. I think we're gonna see a lot more of this moving forward, which I'm honestly all for. I'll be honest, I've been really bad about seeking out self-published works, but this is proof that there's a lot of good stuff being published in the self-published world, even if the Atlas 6 was on my worst books of 2022 list. Oops. I'm not trying to be quirky or different. It just wasn't for me. I am anticipating reading Legends and Lattes though. Hopefully that's more my cup of tea. Anyway, would love to see this trend pop off more in 2023. Next, I think we're gonna see series be on the rise again moving forward. I feel like it's been a minute since we've had a series like really pop off. We've had our trilogy phase. We're just now kind of coming off our duology phase, and I think there's room for series to be popular again. I have this feeling that either a series will garner a lot of popularity next year, or the first book in a series will be released next year and that book will be super popular and we'll see a rise in more series moving forward. I just feel like there's not really been much interest in long series, specifically in the YA realm, I guess you could say. Like, I feel like outside of that there have been a lot of series, but just like in YA, we haven't really seen a long series since Throne of Glass, maybe? But I could just see the community kind of getting an itch for series again, and I could maybe see that happening in 2023. Next, an author trying the Brando Sando Kickstarter method. I just want to say, I'm not saying that Brandon Sanderson started the idea of like kickstarting a book. I know he was not the first, but last year, Brandon Sanderson dropped a bomb on all of us when he kicked off his Kickstarter for 4 books that he had written secretly. I feel like this man has some kind of time stopper, because where is he getting the time to write these brick books? Like these brick-like books. They're huge. I do not understand. He wrote all of these secretly outside of his contracted work, so work that he had tied to publishers. He wrote all of these books. Imagine just casually writing 4 books outside of the contracted books that you have to write. I could never. I will never. I don't understand. Anyway, the goal was $1 million to essentially kind of self-publish these books. That way he had complete control over every aspect of it. He raised a lot more than $1 million. He raised $41 million. In fact, he almost raised $42 million. Insane! I could see more authors attempting to go this method and publishing their own books through Kickstarter. I'm not saying they'll reach the same enthusiasm as Brandon Sanderson's. Like, maybe they shouldn't expect to get nearly $42 million as a response, but I still feel like people would be more than willing to support Kickstarters from their favorite authors, especially after all the shady things we learned about book publishing in the year of 2022. So I'd be down for authors taking this route. My last prediction is that an author will get huge and then we'll have everybody turn on them. I feel like this happens a lot and there is a lot of nuance to it. I'm not saying that the authors that this happens to deserve hate necessarily, but the criticism of their work is a lot of times valid and should be discussed. I do think that the criticism often goes too far and that line gets blurred and people do end up like trashing the author themselves instead of just like bringing up the criticism and being like, hey, we should work on this. It does become kind of like a hate fest. And I don't think that that's a good thing, but I think that the criticism needs to be discussed and talked about so that like we can stop those things from continuing to happen within this person's work. And I just know it's going to happen next year. Like, it just happens every year. Every year there's a new author that's like super popular and then everybody turns on them. It's going to happen. I don't want to know who it's going to happen to, but it will happen. Those are my bookish predictions for 2023. Let me know down below in the comments all your thoughts on this video. What are some of your predictions? What are your thoughts on some of my predictions? I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo!